Hello everyone, I am Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another Inspiration of Heroes stream. Try to do these at least every 2 weeks, occasionally, just depending on when I can get the guests and coordinate schedules and everything like that. And a lot of people on deck for that and some cool surprises too. Actually, you might not have thought the Prof was able to obtain on his channel, but that's coming. But tonight, I'm really excited about this, and I know a number of you have expressed excitement too once you saw that lineup there, because tonight we have, as I'm going to call her Lavenia, her actual name, but you might know her as LeaiPlusSize. She's, of course, a common presence in a lot of these streams, and you might have seen her over at Wolf 10 Media or different places. So she has been a good member of the Professor Geek community for a while, talking about certain heroes and everything, and of course, as you saw from her lineup, it's going to be a lot of them line up with my actual heroes as well. So it'll be fun to talk to. Before I bring her in, though, I will just give my usual spiel at the beginning of these streams, explaining exactly what they are for people who are new or come upon the recording later. My channel is dedicated to my scholarship, which is the look and examination of our cultural mythologies. So basically our shared fictions. And because I'm a geek, that's superheroes and fantasy and science fiction and all of that, and how they operate as our cultural mythology today. And then what effect that has on us individually, psychologically, but then also in society, as a culture. So that's what I do. And I talk a lot about, because of that, I talk a lot about my experience with my heroes. But I started this series because I thought it'd be a great idea to start hearing how, hey guys, it's not just me. Other people have these heroes that are very important to them, and it's neat that each of the guests I've had on, we've had like maybe is it 10 or so far? I don't know. It's been quite a handful, but you can see certain themes arise. One of the themes is as I talked with Matt Mitchell last week or the other week or whatever, balance. A sense of balance sometimes of even people who really like a lot of the cathartic motivational heroes like Spider-Man and stuff like that will still need those aspirational ones in there to balance things out. So we see that. We also see the need for heroes to help us through those tough times, to give us something to strive for and so forth. So a lot of cool themes and whatnot. Quickly, let me welcome the chat a little bit. We'll try to keep these to around an hour-ish, but that's a loose estimate. Nathaniel Zalozball, welcome. Always in here chatting at first. Welcome, Matthew Flynn. Good that Nathaniel had somebody to chat with for a little bit. I feel bad because Nathaniel comes in, he's ready to talk, and I'm usually really busy and can't really get to the chat until the stream time. Barry Bend, welcome. I don't know if I've seen your name around here before, but welcome. Melissa Harrison Sons, good to see you. Jay Dean, my dear sound engraver, with us as always. And who else do we have here? People popping back in the chat. Joshua V, Frank Siaka. I said, oh, no intro. Well, now the intro, the Consuming Stories Responsible intro, that's a Friday night thing. So come back Friday night. You'll see that intro. That's part of my Friday night show. Yeah, that'll come. That hasn't gone anywhere. Don't worry. Let's see. I said Francisco Schooner Tuna, Wolf 10 Media. Great to see you. Daniel, welcome. And I think I've got people, Final Fantasy fan 012. Welcome to you as well. I think that's a new name I've seen there. So yeah, plenty more people watching. Obviously, I just wanted to welcome those who are in the chat. Okay, sorry, did something on my computer there. Well, without further ado, let me go ahead and welcome Lavenia, or as you might know her, Miss LeaiPlusSize, to the stream. Welcome.
Welcome, Professor. Hello, everyone. I'm glad you were able to take time to come to this interview. Professor, I am very honored to be here with you. You are my Charles Xavier, Gandalf, and Yoda all rolled into one. So this is absolutely a complete honor. I am honored that you are inviting me to this program that you have.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. I appreciate that. That's great. Well, yeah, I've always appreciated your support and your comments, your contribution to the discussions that we've had, both in the YouTube or on Facebook or wherever, and it'll be fun. I don't get a chance as much to hear. I know poor Wolf 10. I wish I could support you more, Wolf 10, being there live for you, but it's just during the day. I'm running around with Alyssa and stuff like that, and he has most of his streams during the day. But I have heard you on there a couple of times, and I know you did a rewatch with Daniel Herron over on Soundtracks with Birdman as well, which was awesome and everything like that. So I'm looking forward to hearing how these heroes affected you and everything. But yeah, you are welcome. So great to have you.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to talk about them too. And those streams are fun. I've had a lot of fun. Wolf 10 Media, if you've listened to some of them, it's a great time on his stream. It's really great. And the streams I did with Daniel Hearn, I think we covered, we did Indiana Jones movie, Temple of Doom, and I
Hmm.
believe we did the 2 Cap movies, The Winter Soldier and Civil War. So I had a great time there, and it's great being there, and it's great being in this geek community. So thank you
Yeah.
for that, because I really enjoyed talking to all of you.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, good to have you. So out of all those heroes, is there trying to think of a way to go about it here? It doesn't have to. It couldn't be it could be chronological order if you like. You know, in terms of like which hero you encountered first in your life, or it can be which heroes had the biggest inspiration down to the others, or vice versa. Some of the others moving up to the biggest inspiration. So, what do you have a preference? How do you like to attack this list?
Why don't we just go in chronological order, the way you have the thumbnail? Because I think
sure.
History-wise, they all connect.
Mm-hmm.
Is when I listed them. So I think chronological order would be the best way to go, because they will go through the story of my life. I've been a geek all my life. So they carry from childhood and right into adulthood of the person I am now.
Okay. Well, so Luke Skywalker. Now, I will be honest with you. I know better than to ask you, so I won't. But I have no concept of your age. You know, so you could have come into Luke Skywalker while you watched the prequels on DVD because you weren't even old enough to see them in the theater, or you could have seen them earlier. I don't know. Where was your first encounter with Luke Skywalker?
Well, this will probably tell my age, but I actually was in the theater and saw the film as a little girl in 1977.
Oh, okay.
And I have no shame of that. I am very proud that I was that generation that saw Star Wars on the big screen in the theater at that time in the summer of 77.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That's really great. Yeah, I know. I'm very jealous of the folks who were able to have that experience. I know Big Al talks about it a lot too, and it's just like, oh man, that it must have been amazing. So, at that moment, did it impact you at that moment, sitting in the seat, or is it something that came, like the character kind of ingrained into your life a little bit later as the franchise grew on?
Professor, he was ingrained in me that day I saw the movie. He was ingrained. And the funny thing is, I still remember that I can't remember what day, but I know it was the opening weekend, because it was like the first film I saw where there were throngs and crowds of people. Because before that, you know, I only saw like the Disney re-releases, you know, Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty and all those kinds of films, because, you know, my mom felt that was films, you know, films that were appropriate for kids.
Sure.
So Star Wars was like my first live action movie, and I was ingrained that day. I never forgot it. The minute I sat in that theater and that went dark and you saw those words a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and bang, that music just comes right in. Yeah. And that got me right there when John Williams' score came right in there, and that music started, and you saw the ship come through. You saw the Star Destroyer thing, Vader's ship come through. And I knew that this was something I had never seen before. And I remember when I went into the theater, I didn't know why it was crowded. I just didn't know why it was crowded. And I remember seeing the posters on the characters. And I know I saw Han and Chewie. I saw Leia with Vader. And then I saw Luke. And I said to myself, who are these people? I don't know who these people are. I've never seen them before. And then I came out of there, and that has been ingrained ever since. It never left my memory. Yeah. I was a Star Wars fan from that moment on.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, you talk about a lot of things. I mean, we'll get to Luke specifically in a second, but yeah, just from the music, you know, I mean, the music, you know, Sound Engraver talks about this a lot on her channel when she does the analysis of these themes and whatnot, but John Williams just captured so much of what it was to be on that hero's journey. And I'm thinking specifically, we'll talk about Superman in a bit, but I just recently, before going live tonight, I saw a trailer that they're doing an animated series, or animated film rather, of Crypto, the super dog. And they just released a little teaser, but in the teaser, they play John Williams' Superman score right then and there. And as disillusioned as I am with anything Hollywood even remotely tries to put out these days, I got to admit, just hearing that John Williams score and seeing it animated and thinking, well, maybe they will do it right. I don't know, who knows, you know, but just hearing that score, it does grip you. And to think the same thing with this Star Wars and that wonderful music, and then the crawl and everything. And now with Luke, I say this sometimes in my archetype videos. A lot of people don't realize it, but George Lucas, he was a student of Joseph Campbell, you know, Hero with a Thousand Faces, you know, the hero's journey guy. And he consulted Campbell even with his script, you know, a number of different drafts, trying to make sure that he got the hero's journey absolutely right. And I think that's what connects to us so much. Maybe that's what connected to you, but that's what helps us to connect to it, continuing as we grow and as we encounter new experiences. So, as watching it in the theater, did you immediately connect with his journey, or was it like just something did that part of it kind of grow on you as you went through life later?
It grew on me as I got older, because as a child, as a little girl, I love to be told stories. I love stories. I love storytelling. And just very quickly, I'm going to answer your question. I just want to let you know that I love that you do books, and you do your books and you talk about books, because books was my first window to fiction. I love fantasy and science fiction, from reading Alice in Wonderland to the Chronicles of Narnia to the Lord of the Rings, and then later in science fiction with Isaac Asimov and all those stories. So I love to be told a story. At that time, when I first saw the film, I really didn't know what the hero's journey was, because I was still a child. But I knew it was a connection to something, because it felt like the Arthurian legend, and I love the King Arthur stories. I love the story of Camelot and King Arthur, Excalibur, and all that stuff. I always loved those stories. So I got that feeling from that, but I couldn't describe it. I couldn't tell you what. I didn't know at that time that I was embarking on the hero's journey until I got older and I saw each film, and then I got more into the Star Wars mythology. And then when the DVD came out with it had that documentary about George Lucas making the 3 films. It went into Joseph Campbell, and then I understood what the hero's journey is all about. So it didn't get to me. I knew I liked it, but I couldn't describe it. But I knew that what George Lucas did with that journey was affecting me, because it's what it was. That hero's journey is the journey, or that stereotype, that I love more than anything. I think that's what grips me in there. And even when I'm reading stories, even reading books, the hero's journey has always been my favorite.
Yeah, it's so visceral, as I say, to the human experience. Because I'll even have my students in some of the lower tier classes that I teach. I'll have them do papers, just to kind of get an idea of their writing style and their prose stylings. I'll do the personal essay kind of thing, but tell me about your experience taking a hero's journey at some point. And initially they always like, what have I done? I was like, well, you came to college for the first time. That's a hero's day. You went out of your comfort zone, you experienced something, so it is applicable to all walks of life and at every level of life we're at. But specifically about Luke himself, what is it about his character and his specific character traits that you connect with so much back then or even now?
What I connect with him is the fact that the growth of Luke Skywalker. He doesn't come into Star Wars with his powers and knowing everything. We know he has the Force, but he doesn't quite know what it is yet. So let's go with the first film, with Star Wars. Of course, he's the farm boy on his dad's farm. He's seeking adventure. He wants to see more that's out there, but he really doesn't have anybody to guide or push him until he gets to Obi-Wan. But he knows he's feeling something, instead of just staying on that farm. But he knows he's meant for something more. Yeah. So it's meeting him and watch him grow throughout that journey, from being the farm boy to realizing I have this ability. I don't know what it is. It's different from everybody else. I can't explain it, but I do have it. And the fact that, Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru don't quite get it yet, except for Aunt Beru, who says to Uncle Owen that, he can't stay on this farm. He's meant for something more. Of course, he has his father's in him. Little did we know at the time what she meant by you have your father in you. Yeah. And growing up, this is really personal, but I don't mind saying it. I'm dyslexic. So when I was growing up, I had a learning disability. And when you're a child and you're a kid, I didn't understand what that was. So I always felt like I was an outsider. But there were other abilities that I have that I didn't quite understand yet. So you have your self-doubts, you have your insecurities, which he does have in the first film. But by the time you get to, and then you get to, of course, Empire Strikes Back, where he's in the in-between, the adolescent part of his life, where he's in between, where he doesn't have the confidence yet in the Force that Yoda wants him to have, because he feels he doesn't believe he could do it. He hasn't gotten there yet. He hasn't gotten there yet where he can believe in his abilities to do what he has to do. He has to get there, which I very much can relate to that. And then he gets defeated he gets a double whammy. Of course, he gets defeated by Vader, but also find out that he's his father. So he gets he gets a physical and emotional blow. But in Return of the Jedi, he comes full circle. He now embraces who he is and embraces his idea of the Force. And I like his I'm blanking on words, but I like his optimism. He sees the good in everybody. He sees the good in people. He brings out the best in people. And I like that about him. And he doesn't lose that trait even when he fully becomes full a Jedi Knight. There's this ease or comfort that he has that I could relate to, that I've always liked through his journey throughout those 3 films. That's
a great explanation of that. I like how you say that, because he does have to learn. Well, first, as a farm boy, he's told, and he's longing for something greater, as you say, and he's told that, he knows instinctively he's meant for something greater, and that's something for all of us. We are meant for something greater than the circumstances of our lives often restrict us to, whatever that means, something personal to us. But you're right. He learned how to do some different skills. So I can definitely see somebody with a learning disability would appreciate that and draw inspiration from that. But I love too that as you're describing it, even when he learns to be a Jedi, even training with Yoda, even on to the Return of the Jedi, and certainly as we follow the EU, even on into his further adventures, he never loses the core person who he was on that moisture farm, with Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. That core, the values, the core. I've just got to do what's right. I need to be true to my friends. I need to save people. I know my father can be saved, no matter what people say around me, and so forth. Optimism, like you say, and that was even though he did get to learn new abilities and go on to greater journeys and missions in life, he always stayed true to the core, and that's why I call him an aspirational hero, because that was with him from the beginning. He had to learn the abilities, he had to learn certain things about the universe, but that core, it's right to do what's good, and never question that. It was just amazing. I love that. So I agree with you.
Yeah, I agree with you. Oh, yes, 100%. And then also the biggest factor for me, and many people know me, is really when we get to Return of the Jedi and his dealing with Vader. That really was the one that really sold me over, because like a lot of people, when we got to Return of the Jedi coming out, I was all ready for him to really give Vader a good butt whipping. This was a villain that did all these horrible things, and I thought, and then what he did to Luke, I said, I hope Luke tears him apart. So I was even shocked when he says, I'm going to redeem my father back to the good side. And I know for a fact that Yoda and Obi-Wan were not expecting that. They were expecting Luke to kill his father, but he believed so strongly. And even for me watching that was hard for me to even accept, because the Vader had done all these terrible things. How can this man be a good man? I wasn't really sure I could accept the redemption of Darth Vader. So, but I saw it through his eyes, but he believed so strongly that his father was good. And I also, he loved his father. He wouldn't do it if he didn't have love for him, even though he never grew up knowing him. And that what amazes me, even after, this is the man that cut your hand off. He cut your hand off mercifully. He cut his hand off. And he still wants to go back to redeem Vader back to Anakin. That was that is the core of Luke. That is who Luke Skywalker is. That is the real thing about him. Yes, he could do all these fantastic things with the Force, but the core of Luke Skywalker was the fact that he was going to bring his father back to the good side. Because then that scene in Return of the Jedi, when he surrenders himself over, and him and Vader are having that talk. And he tells Vader tells him that it's too late for him, and that he should turn himself over to the Emperor, and that the name Anakin doesn't mean anything anymore. And then Luke turns to him and says, then my father is truly dead. I'm like, whoa, that was deep. That was deep. That was deep words to Vader. And then just looking, by the way, I could even tell by the way his body language that said, well, Anakin's now conflicted now. Anakin is now conflicted. So Revenge of the Sith is I'm throwing that prequel in there because I do think that really is a very good picture. That's a good of all the prequels. That's the best one, because we see his fall, and once I see his fall, I appreciated Return of the Jedi more when he came back around. So I actually think Revenge of the Sith is. You can go with the other two, but the last one, that one puts it all, connects more to Return of the Jedi a lot better. So that to me was the core of Luke, was redeeming his father.
Yeah, that's a great. I like the way you explained that, and yeah, I can definitely resonate with that. And archetypically speaking, in the film, it's a Jungian hero's journey trope too, where Vader, Luke's hand is cut off. That's the symbolic castration from the tyrannical father, trying to keep the new generation down, not to be replaced by them. But for that next generation, for that hero, having suffered that, to still try to redeem and not slay the father. Like you said, it is so powerful. I can remember a little bit watching it, obviously on VHS as a child, and being a little surprised, like you were, like, what? Isn't he going to just go kick his butt, like you said, but yeah, it's a wonderful lesson. It's a wonderful lesson in humility and compassion, even for those who would persecute us. That's a lesson. That's a heroic lesson right there, definitely.
And that's and you're right. I think compassion. That's it. That's the secret ingredient Luke Skywalker had compared to Anakin is his compassion. It's not a weakness like Palpatine or the Emperor thought it was. I think he told him that your faith in your friends is going to be your undoing. I remember telling Luke that line, but it wasn't. It was his strength. I think that really makes him the hero that he is. The compassion that he has for his friends, but also what he had for his father. Because like you said, when I saw that in Jedi, I really thought we're going to get a good fight here. I didn't know Luke was going to go and want to redeem.
Yeah.
What is that? So you're right. I learned a lesson in that about being the hero's journey. It's not about the fist and the strength and punching and kicking and taking down the villain, but redeeming them.
Yeah.
So you're right, and that's what makes them stand out. That's what makes them work for me.
Absolutely. Well, before we move on to the next hero, I just want to check in with the chat a little bit. People are loving your thoughts here. They're loving your choices. A lot of people are agreeing with us about the music. Yeah, Melissa Harris talking about her son Jake loves Wonderland, Oz, Camelot, all those wonderful stories. Absolutely. Sound Engraver says Lavenia touches on a really important point. She knew she liked the hero's journey, even though she couldn't describe why at the time. That's proof that the hero's journey is innately human. Exactly. The human experience. 100%. Let's see. Anything else going on? Whooped Media quoting, "You were the chosen one." Well, it's an easy segue, right? From Luke Skywalker to the real deal Christopher Reeve Superman, because a lot of the things we've been saying applies to Luke's hero's journey, very much applies to Superman as well. In that 78 film in particular, being the farm boy, aspirational from the start and everything like that. So what's your experience? Was it in the theater as well, watching that?
In the theater, as was same as Star Wars. That was
just a year later,
time.
Right?
Just a year later. That was such a great time for these films and on television, because you had Superman on screen, but you also had Linda Carter's Wonder Woman on television.
Yes.
So that was a great time for those characters to come out, this first generation. Same experience, because when Superman the movie came out, I knew as a kid I saw the commercials being advertised on television, but I really didn't know for sure what's going on, because Superman to me was Saturday morning cartoon Super Friends. That's the Superman that I knew. Saturday morning animated classic. Yep. But I'm telling you, to see Christopher Reeve on screen, live action comic book film, which it is, which I feel all the comic book films now, that Superman movie set the standard for everything we're seeing now.
Absolutely.
It has set the standard. I still think it stands the test of time. But being in that theater again, crowded, and then once again, the way this movie started with the little girl doing the narration, and then John Williams' score, and then you see that giant S come. The giant S comes across the screen, and I knew that this was going to be bigger than life. This is going to be something I never seen before, and that's exactly the type of fanfare Superman deserved. He deserved that kind of fanfare, and that John Williams score, booming like that classic music, just set the tone for a perfectly written scale picture. And then, like you said, first, I love what we get on Krypton, the action up on Krypton, what's going on right there, and then how he comes down to Smallville and with the Kents. And then, like you said, he sort of started as a farm boy, but he knows he has abilities he can't explain. He knows he can do these things. I can do these things. And then his father Jonathan has to explain, that you're here for a reason. I don't know whose reason it is, but you're here for something. I can't explain it. And then the loss of Jonathan Kidd.
And it's not something piddly like playing football either. It's something bigger than that even. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not here to score touchdowns. That's what I like about it. And then we jump to Jonathan Clark's death. That we jump to that. And then to hear him say, you know, all these powers I have and I couldn't save him. And people don't realize, because, you know, people always rat on Superman. Well, he's perfect. He doesn't feel anything.
He's too OP.
Did you not see did you not hear what he said? He said, I had all these special powers and I still couldn't save him, you know? So
important lesson.
That's an important lesson right there. He's not perfect because he's feeling the pain of losing his father. And then he goes to the Fortress of Solitude and he learns from his father. And then, of course, he goes to Metropolis, becomes Clark Kent, and beautifully played by Christopher Reeve, being able to be Clark Kent and Superman. He pulled it off so well because you had to believe him as Clark Kent in order to believe him as Superman. And from all the adventures he had with again, the same thing, he's aspirational. And you see that when he does his interview with Lois Lane on the balcony, which I love. I mean, you have Romeo and Juliet in their balcony scene, but as a little girl, the balcony scene with Lois and Superman is still the best. I know there's a lot of Lois and Clark TV show, all this stuff. I'm sorry for all those out there. Nothing lives up to that scene on the balcony with Lois Lane, and then he takes her flying. Nothing lives up to that. And he says to her, even in the interview, that, you know, he's here for truth, justice, the American way. And she said, you know, you're gonna end up fighting every elected official in this country. And he tells her, you know, I never lie. I'm not lying. And she's like, oh, you're really serious. You really are different. And I think the kicker for me with that film and 1 and 2, I like Superman 1 and 2. 2 was a great sequel to it. 3, we're not gonna leave that out the picture.
Now, are you Donner cut sequel or Lester cut sequel or both?
I'm both, because I think that the Lester cut actually is very good. I still think it holds up the test of time, but I also think there's some things Richard Donner did good too.
Sure.
So I appreciate both of them because I think they both have really good moments. And in the first one, the moment that really got me, that I knew that this was a real hero, is of course after he saves the town from the flooding and the massive earthquake, but he doesn't get to Lois in time.
Yeah.
And he discovers that and he finds her in that crack in the earth. And I remember the theater being dead quiet when he finds her in that crack in the earth. Because even I was like, oh no, I hope she's not dead. She can't be dead. She can't be. They kept the end of it. And then he just lets out this gut-wrenching scream that made me jump in my seat. And then I realized that he was angry. And then while he's flying in the air, he hears the two voices of his earthly father, which is Jonathan, and he is his real father. The two that you're here for a reason. Jor-El telling him that you can't interfere with human history or your heart, and how he chooses, and then his own voice saying all those powers and I couldn't save him, and then he turns back time out of hurt and anger. I think he did it out of hurt, anger, and loss. So for all those people out there that say he doesn't feel, he's wimpy. There you are right there. Because I think I don't have a problem with it, but it just shows that, he's the Man of Steel, but his heart is still vulnerable. Because I think it's the pain of losing Lois that makes him do that. And once again, same thing as Luke Skywalker, this aspirational hero. And I love at the end when he in credits and he flies, and then Christopher Reeve gives us a little smile. And then you hear that ending music that's just what you make stand up and cheer. And that's what I like. I like these films to make me, I want to come out that theater standing up and cheering. And that's what that film did for me. Inspired
to go live life. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You know, I'll speak to that because you and I could talk about Superman all night, I'm sure. But I hear so many people criticize the end of Superman, the movie. Even people who like it say, the ending was kind of silly, turning back time or whatever. They don't understand the story and what it was set up. Superman, the movie, is a perfect illustration of the Oedipal complex in a story. And that doesn't mean what people think it means. The Oedipal complex in literature isn't a literal thing. No one literally, except for Oedipus himself, kills their father and marries their mother. But what you have is Clark, now in Earth and raised in Earth. And even when we saw Krypton before he came to Earth, it's very cold. It's white, it's pure, but it's a very cold planet, cold looking. There are no warm tones, and Jor-El himself is very logical. He's not evil. He's not a bad guy in any way. He's there for Clark. Even his consciousness that he sends along in the crystals is there for his son Kal-El to help him and whatnot. But it's still very logical, very a colder aspect to it. Whereas all of the cinematography for Smallville is very warm, very So the metaphorical father is Jor-El or Krypton, and the metaphorical mother here is Smallville. The values that he grew up with, both his Jonathan and Martha. They're the metaphorical mother. And he wants to not slay the father in terms of not listen to Jor-El and anything like that, but he does have to overcome what the metaphorical father would want for him solely, and learn how to go back and fight for that metaphorical mother and reclaim her, in his journey forward. And how does he do that? And the lovely scene that you just described, when he's in the sky and he hears those two voices, the two conflicting voices, metaphorical father, metaphorical mother, Jor-El saying it's forbidden for you to interfere with human history, because Jor-El, as good as he is, he didn't have the experience of growing up on Earth. He doesn't have the experience of the compassion, as one of them anyway. He does send Clark or Kal-El there to help them become a better people and whatnot. But then he hears, as you said, Jonathan, you're made for great things and made for something better and so forth. And that's when he decides to do it. So it's interesting. I don't know if I would say he is angry and he is hurt. Absolutely. But I kind of see that scene too as him making that solid choice that I am more human than I am Kryptonian. Doesn't mean he's, shirking his Kryptonian heritage or spitting in the face of Jor-El or any of that, but he chooses in that moment. And that's a wonderful journey for him in the film. No, I am man more than I am super. And I love that. That's what a great heroic lesson, for, as you say, leaving the theater and just being able to empathy for my fellow man is far more important than my self-glorifying, look at me and how can I stand out all the time? It's great. It's a good lesson. So I agree with you.
And I agree with you too. And also what you just said, Professor, is what people who criticize Superman, that's what they're missing. And that's what they're missing now. I know some people may hate me for saying this, but Man of Steel missed all of that.
No hate around here, you know that. Man of Steel just all of that.
Yeah,
not understand a bit of it.
Man of Steel missed all of this. Is why I like it. I still don't like it now, and nobody will convince me to like it. And I know there is a Lois and Clark TV show that everybody loves, but it's not working with me because they're missing exactly everything you just explained.
Yep.
They are missing that. And then when you get over into Superman 2, where now there's other conflict problems because he has his affection and love for Lois, but now he's got to deal with the three criminals, and mostly Zod, who's the opposite of who he is. And what made Superman 2 great was, I thought, Terrence Stamp Zod is classic villain. Absolutely. There's no one has lived up to Terrence Stamp as Zod.
No,
nobody.
He's wonderful.
Yes, he's wonderful. He's memorable. And the reason is I love how Terrence Stamp played Zod, feeling that he was inferior. Even on Krypton, he felt he was inferior to everyone else.
Or he was superior. Everyone else was inferior.
Excuse me. Thank you. He was superior to everyone else. And when he came to Earth, because in the scenes, he doesn't really attack any of the humans. He just sits back and watches them happen because he feels, like you said, they're inferior to him and they're not a threat to him. So he doesn't feel he has to waste his time with them. I don't have to. A lot of times he's bored. And I said, well, there's nothing to really act here until he discovers that this is the planet where Superman is, and that's who he wants his revenge on. That's who he's waiting on.
The House of Belle.
That's right, to get his revenge on him, and how he feels, that this Superman is no one special. And then when they're having that great fight in Metropolis, he comes to the conclusion that he thinks Superman's weakness is he cares. He cares about these humans, and God does it. So once again, it's a good lesson in how to write a good villain, and then how to write a hero, because Zod is the total opposite of Superman and how Superman sees himself and how Superman sees the people he protects. He wants to protect them, but Zod says, I'm here to rule over them. And if they don't follow what I do, then I just kill them. So I like that drama too in Superman 2.
Yeah, that's a great way. And as you just explained it, I mean, I don't have anything to add, but you just explained the perfect way that the second story, already begun by Donner there, and was to escalate that journey and that conflict between compassion for my adopted home versus responsibilities and old grudges and debts or whatever to the birth home and whatnot. Matthew Flynn, thank you very much for a £5 super chat. Appreciate that. And all I had to say was, you will kneel before Zod.
I was waiting on someone to put that in the chat. I know it's coming. Exactly. No one says kneel before Zod like Terrence Stamp.
No, absolutely not. No. Just that gesture too, is perfect.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Well, the way you arrange these heroes, they just the segues write themselves, because from Luke to Superman, and certainly from Superman to Captain America. I mean, this is a very different character in many ways, but this is Marvel's quote unquote Superman in terms of the big aspirational hero. And I'm curious to know about Captain America for you. Is this something you came to in the comics before the MCU, or was it that first Avenger movie that really cemented you into the character?
I was familiar with him. I didn't read all of his journeys in the comics, but I knew who he was. Mm-hmm. And even when I was growing up, there were these very cheesy cartoons and one cheesy television movie based on him, as bad as it was. Yep. But
I think.
Yeah, there were two really bad ones. But I was a kid. I liked him even then. Mm-hmm. Even though it was a different actor, I liked him even then. So I was familiar with his story. Mm-hmm. But it really got cemented when I saw the first Avenger film. I was rather excited that they were bringing to life a character that really hasn't gotten much attention. Mm-hmm. Some people feel it's the bottom of the pole because it's been Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man. We all know who these people are, the Hulk. So it's very interesting. I felt that film came out at the right time. It's not that I didn't like the Iron Man film, the Incredible Hulk film, or the Thor film, mm-hmm. but their journeys were very different than the journeys of Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
So the first Avenger, which I think is criminally underrated, I think is an underrated MCU film. It's my favorite of those first four solo films. That's my favorite one. But again, here we have another character, but his is different because like Luke Skywalker was born with the Force, Superman was born Superman. Rogers, of course, we know had to take a serum, but Rogers had those aspirational qualities in him already. He was born despite all the physical abnormalities and sicknesses that he had.
Yeah.
He was this thin, sickly little guy, that figured he could stand up to bullies, even though they were just, poor man just butt ripping in the alley after the scene in the movie theater, and the guy just knocks the poor man out. I'm like, oh, this poor baby just getting still fighting. He's getting his face bashed in, but he still believes he can take this guy down.
Do this all day.
Yeah. This is he still believes it. And then when he's training, he's just struggling so bad. Mm-hmm. He's trying to catch up with everybody, and he's just like, oh, Steve. But but his heart and who he is as a human was his superpower. It was his strength. So that first Avenger film was really cemented because I loved how it was done. It was my favorite of the solo pictures that year. It's absolutely number one. I think it's underrated. I think it's criminally underrated. And again, great soundtrack. I love the soundtrack too. The first Avenger. I love the music that was composed for it to fit his time period, from the Star Spangled Man to his theme at the end, because at the end, when after he says, he awakens now in this time period, though, the music's not dour, it's uplifting. It's an uplifting score at the end for him. And then also the fact we all knew what was coming next, which was the Avengers film.
Yeah, Alan Silvestri, and he actually did the score for the Avengers as well. And I was talking to Sound Engraver about that the other day, and I loved how he took that original score for First Avenger and in a lot of ways morphed that into what would be the Avengers theme, which was really cool because it shows the connection and how it's based on his heroics. I like that. Mark Geary, thank you very much for the $5 super chat. Says, "Curse you, Richards," in quotes. Is that Fantastic Four?
I think that's Fantastic Four. I don't remember.
Fantastic Four. Oh. Matthew Flynn for another €5 or £5, excuse me. When Captain America throws his mighty shield, all those who choose to oppose his shield must yield. Exactly. A wonderful theme song. Exactly.
Yes. I remember that.
You said it's his heart, and that's the one of my favorite scenes in all of film history, honestly, is Steve before the procedure, sitting there with Dr. Erskine in the barracks, and they have that talk, and he says, why me? And he says, and Dr. Erskine's like, that's the only question that matters. And he says, I'm on blank, I'm going to get his quote wrong, but it basically says, a man who's known power all of his life, a big, strong man, will become a bully. But a man who's not been powerful knows how to respect that power. And that's why you were chosen. He says, but you have to promise me one thing, that no matter what happens, you will remain who you are, not a great soldier, but a good man. And that, again, is the core, that emphasis on man and not the super, on the good heart of Captain America and not the amazing abilities and everything. And that's what makes these heroes aspirational. That's what makes us just in awe of them and want to aspire to be like them. I mean, that scene, when he jumps on the grenade, it's like, man, I don't care how scrawny he is. He's the hero, absolute hero. It's just wonderful. And yeah, that film is criminally underrated. I definitely agree with you. It's in my top 10 easily for hero films, definitely, or films in general, period. So
yeah, it's at the top of there with that. And then like you said about the heart, in the first Avenger film, Tony says to him sarcastically, everything that's great about you came in a bottle. And I thought, oh, Tony, how wrong you are.
Exactly.
That's a low blow, because that's like telling someone there's nothing special about you. Go home. You don't belong here.
Yeah.
And I like Tony. I'm not ripping on him. I like him. But that's a low blow, because I say you don't really know him, because what's special about him was not in the bottle. What's special about him, he was born with. And like you said, that the heart, he was the heart and conscious of the Avengers. That's what he was. And I agree with you. Something that I think that was lost as what Cap reminds the Avengers of who they should be.
Exactly.
That's what I like about him, and why he should be the leader, and why he should be. And then it really rolls over greatly when we get into the Winter Soldier movie, which I think is the best of the MCU. I'm thinking
feel free to talk about Bucky here as you're talking about that, because I know he's an important character for you as well, but continue.
Oh, yeah. Bucky, I'm glad you let me see about Bucky. Bucky is criminally underrated character in these films, because to me, I'm telling you, the super soldiers were my boys. The main reason, because it's interesting, the 3 Cap movies are really my favorite movies of the MCU. The 3 Cap movies, and then Infinity War is my favorite Avenger film. But the 3 Cap movies are my favorite, because I feel in the 3 Cap movies, he's better written than in the Avengers film, at least in the first 2. Now, I felt like Josh Whedon really didn't understand him in the first Avenger.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's not a bad film, but I feel like Josh Whedon treated Steve a little bit like a cartoonish kind of, in a way, kind of character. But when the Russo brothers got a hold of him, they really, really brought him to life and showed him really how great he is.
Winter Soldier is amazing. Yeah.
Winter Soldier is, I think it's the best movie of the MCU. That's just me and anybody else, but I really think it's the best of the MCU. It is. It's my absolute favorite.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned Bucky, because Bucky is criminally underrated. As I said before, the super soldiers were my boys. Those were my characters. Those were my guys. Yeah, you got Thor, you got Iron Man, but my boys were the super soldiers, and Bucky and Steve. And when the movie really shows the bond that they have, because you have to realize also what Bucky meant to Steve. Young being probably the only person there that he could rely on or talk to or help, because everybody else pretty much dissed him and didn't want to be around him. And then in Winter Soldier, when he discovers Hydra got a hold of him and turned him into the Winter Soldier, same thing with Luke Skywalker, how he believed so strong that he was not going to kill him. I'm going to bring him back to the Bucky Barnes that I know. And I know that Bucky Barnes is a good man. And Bucky Barnes is a good man. Too many people call Bucky Barnes is not a criminal. He's not evil. He's a victim. And he's a survivor. He's a victim because Hydra took him and they took his life away from him, turned it into this machine. But without Steve there to free him from that and be there for him, even in Civil War, he wouldn't have survived the way he did. And I think Sebastian Stan does a great job with that character. And I'll say it, don't take this the other way, everybody. It's a love story, but it's not It's not a sexual love story.
We're not shipping them. It's not an erotic love story.
Yes, it's not. It's not. And Professor, I was okay with that. I was okay with that for Winter Soldier because this was a different journey. It was a different type of story. It's no different than the journey that for Luke fighting for his father, you know, that father and son love, and this brotherly bond that they have, that I was okay with.
Yeah.
Because the best scene in the film is when they're fighting on the helicarrier, and he tells him that he was not going to fight him, and then he drops his shield, he drops his helmet, and that music, that great score, and Bucky's just punching him, keeps saying that you're my mission, and Steve won't fight back.
Yeah.
And then he tells something that jars Bucky's man. He says, "I'm with you to the end of the line. I'm with you to their tagline." And then and I got all emotional in the theater. And this Winter Soldier is the first superhero movie I cried in. I did. I no shame when he fell off that helicarrier into the water. and after he said, "I'm with you to the line," he falls into the water. And that score with that simple piano music playing, tears were welling up in my eyes. First, I got scared because I thought, "Oh no, don't kill him off now. Don't kill him. Don't MCU. Don't do this right now." He's falling into the water, and then Bucky goes to save him, knowing he doesn't know why he needs to, but he knows he's connected to him somehow. That is gut wrenching. I was in tears at that moment. The theater was quiet, and I don't think I've ever cried at a superhero film. That one I got emotional over. So kudos, and I'm going to say this: you got to give credit to Chris Evans. You got to give all the credit to Chris Evans for bringing Steve Rogers to life, and he really did. And each film, he just got better and better, giving us Steve Rogers. And then you have the more emotional conflict when you get to Civil War.
Yeah, I like that you talk about the relationship between him and Bucky, because a lot of people don't realize this, but if you stand back and look at the story and the themes, what is Winter Soldier about? It's about Captain America coming from the World War II era, where things were very cut and dry. There was a clear bad guy and a clear good guy. And now he's, just woke. He's like just transported like that in terms of, might as well have time traveled in terms of how he just was frozen and then, brought back to consciousness. So he's suddenly all of the old values and all of the old views of good versus evil in modern day society, in which it's not as cut and dry. A lot of subterfuge, and that's one of the things that he's kind of trying to come to terms with. Can I still be the hero that I know I am and fight for the things that I know are right? Can I still do that in this day and age? Is there still a way to do that? Can I still fight for something like S.H.I.E.L.D. or fight for America? Can I still do that? And what is it tied to? It's tied to his love for his investment in Bucky, his friend, because Bucky represents that. Bucky is a part of that old world that came with him. But Bucky didn't time travel. Bucky had to suffer through what America's had to suffer through. So if he can redeem Bucky, if he can save Bucky, that means he can redeem America. That means there's still a place for him in America too. Not to diminish just his straight up concern for Bucky and care for Bucky, of course, but there's a link there in the themes. Redeeming Bucky is essential to Steve's continued existence in the world. Absolutely.
And that's what makes Winter Soldier such a great film. At that time at the MCU. One of the best superhero movies ever made was what you just described. That's what makes that film so great. And I do agree with you on that. And that is what I think Steve fights for. And I think that's what Steve believes. And that's what makes him stand up. And that's probably why he does come in conflict with the other Avengers, because they've lost that. They've lost that what you just described about fighting, redeeming America. They've kind of lost that. When they fight, it's not to redeem. It's to punish the bad guy. And some bad guys need bad guys need to be punished, Zemo. But there are some that there's a redeeming quality that he has, and that's why, like I said, Winter Soldier works, and that's what people miss, and that's what makes the Winter Soldier film why it works, and people miss that. People are missing what that is, and that's a great way to describe that. And then I think also that's why the conflict comes into Civil War, because now in Civil War he's basically being told to bury that and to basically do what we tell you to do. And that means your thinking may have to change as well. And he won't do that. So I understood why he took the stance that he did. it was I know it was rough on him because the other Avengers were like, yeah, we do this, but you don't realize how much of your soul you're giving up if you turn everything over to Ross, who I hated anyway. I didn't trust that man. I feared that he might put Steve back on ice if Steve had signed those accords and turned him into Bucky and Winter Soldier. And then it's also interesting in that one because there's still issues with Bucky is in that one, at the heart of that as well. Because Bucky is framed and everybody believes it, but Steve says, no, there's no way this guy could have done that, and I'm not going to turn him over. Even to the point where he has to fight Tony. And in the end, which I thought, again, very, very heroic, basically gives up the Avengers for Barnes. That's why I say you can't really cut Barnes out. I mean, Tony throws his shield down and said, "Okay, you want to be leader of the Avengers? Take it. I'm going off with I'm going off with him. I'm not turning Will. I'm going to protect him." I mean, who would do that? Who would give up that this being the leader of the Avengers just for this person that people still think doesn't matter? Yeah, but it matters to him.
Yeah, and you've explained it wonderfully, because if you think of his arc in these three films, the first movie is Steve doing what's right and remaining true to heroism, and it's hard as he's got his challenges there. But in hindsight, from the third movie back, it's kind of the easiest decision made in that first movie because of the world around him. And then, as we said in the second film, figuring out that I still need to be true to my values no matter what, even though I'm in this changed world. But then the third film, like you're saying, that's where the ultimate challenge to that commitment to his values comes. And what if we tell you now that your commitment to your values is actually hurting people? So you're saying that you don't want to hurt people, you want to fight for people no matter what, but your decision to do that is actually hurting people. So you need to go ahead and be ordered by the government and so forth. And that's the ultimate challenge to it. And the world tries to tell us this all the time. The world's always trying to be sneaky and get around us, get around our value systems or the thing that we hold sacred. It's like, well, that's actually hurting people. So how do you think about that? Let me problematize that for you. It's all culturally constructed. Wolftown Media had an interesting quote a little while ago when you were talking about Iron Man's horrible quote to Steve, everything good about you came in a bottle. He said, what Tony said is what non-fans would say about any superhero we all like when powers do not make the hero. Exactly. It's also what the world tells us. The world tells us that, you're just socially constructed. That's all. There's nothing essential about you. There's nothing, you could have been this, you could have been that. It just all depends on your upbringing. That's it. It's to a certain extent, sure, but no, that's not the extent and be all of us. As you said, like Captain America, there's an essential part of us, that we can cling to or betray. So yeah, I love your explication of Civil War too. There's so much more can be said about it, obviously, but yeah.
Well, like you said, the heroic thing about Rogers is this incredible stance for him to stand up for what is right, even if it means I'm going to get ostracized, I won't be popular, or I won't be in the crowd. We're kind of facing that now with our culture and battling with the woke. Well, I'm going to say it, the woke. And the crowd over, because we're seeing this happen, all of this happening to these heroes that we love. And we have this large group saying that your way of viewing these heroes is no longer the right way, but our woke way is what way we're going. And if you don't come on board with this, you'll get cut off, or that's that, or you won't have your superhero movies anymore. You won't have your superhero TV shows anymore. You won't have anybody to sit and talk to about it because we're cutting you off of that because you won't follow our way. So the biggest challenges to all of this is, what do you stand for? And really, what does that mean when you take that stance? And that's what really, that's the strength of Rogers, not the strength, which we do love, and I do love, that elevator fight in Winter Soldier.
Yeah, man.
Yes, that elevator fight.
Before we continue, does anybody want to get out?
Yes. Yes. I absolutely, I felt that was his sort of like coming of age. Like, yeah, I'm compassionate. Yeah, I'm understanding. But if you test me, you're really going to get a really butt whipping, and you got all those guys out in that elevator. So he is compassionate, he is strong. But if you test him, you push him, he's going to defend himself. And
he will stand up for what's right, even if it means fighting. Yeah, even if it means fighting.
Even if it means physical. But his fighting is not. It's not hatred fighting. It's more defense.
Yeah, exactly. Think. And because he has a shield, it's very symbolic in his nature and his weapon and everything. Yeah, for defense. Exactly. Protection. Yeah, well, like Superman, we can spend forever on Captain America too, because there's so much to dig in mind in that. But I will say that as wonderful as the segues have been, I got nothing to segue to Belle. I will say this has been the first Disney princess, I think, who's made the Inspiration of Heroes streams. I can't. Did Sound Engraver? Did we talk about Mulan on your Inspiration of Heroes streams? I know you and I have talked about Mulan a great deal, but I can't remember if Mulan was part of your Inspiration of Heroes stream. I don't think so. But when Sound Engraver comes back on, I'm sure we'll talk about Mulan and some other ones. Great, but Belle, I love Belle. Sound Engraver is a fan of Belle too. So what is there's a surface level, I imagine, is part of it. But I'm curious to hear from your insight on the other heroes. What is it that draws to Belle specifically? So I guess obviously your first interaction with her was in the theater as well. Our first encounter.
Yeah. Seeing Beauty and the Beast, the Disney animated feature film. Now I must say this last lap was tough because it's hard to choose between Linda Carter's Wonder Woman, Indiana Jones, Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. I said, this is a tough slot, but I said, well,
you'll be back. We'll get people back to doubles. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. Now you have that second one list is going to be ready. When Beauty and the Beast came out, this was during Disney's animated renaissance during the 90s, when they were those animated pictures. Mm-hmm. Their golden age, because they're not in a golden age right now. But back in the 90s, they had a golden age that started with The Little Mermaid, another one of my favorites. And now this one. Now, the reason this Belle resonates with me, two reasons. One, I know the story. I know the original story that this is based on, and I've seen other movies based on the story. Mm-hmm. But no, the beauty has never been fleshed out the way Disney fleshed out Belle, because there was a personality. When I saw the film and I saw Belle is a symbol of myself and my whole life, because I could relate to her and understand her. Mm-hmm. In the village she lives in, she doesn't fit in. The song at the beginning spells it all out for you. And I don't know if you've seen the film or your sound grade would know it, but her opening film tells you everything you know about her. Mm-hmm. You know,
there's something strange, about this woman.
Yes, strange. Never part of any crowd because her head is always in the clouds. Mm-hmm. She's a funny girl. They think she's weird and strange because she's different, and she loves to read books, and she loves what she loves. She loves faraway fantasy books. She sings it in the song about this is the chapter where she finds Prince Charming and he reveals himself, and she loves it. And when she walks through the town, she wants to share this with everybody, but everybody's too busy to listen to her. And okay, Belle, that's nice, yeah. And I know that feeling when I want to come home from a movie or show, and I said, I got to tell you about this great. I know I was like that when I was a child when I saw Star Wars, and I wanted to tell my mom. I said, I got to tell you about this, and it's Skywalker. And they said, oh, okay, well. You wrote up
nice. That. Marie, the baguettes.
Yeah. There. And I never could fit in, even in high school, even throughout my life. I couldn't fit in to the world around me. Everybody around me thought I was strange or weird. And I heard that a lot. And then maybe because the books I like to read, because most people like, really I shouldn't say boring, but, the intellectual nonfiction stuff. And not saying those books are good, but those I like using my imagination like Belle did. So, like I said, I loved Alice in Wonderland and Lord of the Rings and Narnia and all these wonderful stories. And I would try to tell people about them, and they would look at me like I was speaking in tongues because they couldn't understand any of this. Yeah. So she is a symbol of myself. I can relate to her because people are always complaining that, well, girls can't relate to Disney princesses anymore. That's a lie. That is an absolute lie. And you just remember, she doesn't start off as a princess. She's a girl in a village, much like Luke Skywalker was the boy on the farm. Mm-hmm. So she's the girl in the village. She doesn't start off as a princess, and she just wants. She knows she wants more, but she doesn't want what everybody else wants in the village. And her rejection of Gaston because she sees that his ego is what makes him ugly. Mm-hmm. And then when she encounters the beast, how she wins the beast over, with her kindness and with her gentleness. But it's interesting because when they first meet, they don't get along. Love at first sight, they don't get along at all. He scares her, and she doesn't want to be anywhere near him.
Yeah.
So it starts off very rocky, and then very slowly it does develop. So when we get to that moment at the end, once she confesses the love, you do believe that, and you do believe that that is what breaks the spell. But
Yeah.
she is a symbol, and I like all the Disney princesses, especially the early ones, the Snow Whites, the Cinderellas. But that was
Yeah.
the one that really spoke to me.
Yeah.
Is seeing that portrayed.
Yeah, you said a lot there that it's worth digging into. I mean, for one thing, the world looking at girls today and saying, "Well, you can't be it. That's not good enough for you," or whatever. Because if you look at the live action Beauty and the Beast, which was just awful,
Yes.
Look at the key changes they made. No, Belle is the inventor, because you can't be a reader of fantasy. You have to be in STEM. If you're not in science and mathematics and technology and all that as a girl, well, then you're just oppressed. That's exactly what the modern day culture is telling young girls. It's not allowed. They're not allowed to be into, fantasy or fairy tales or quote unquote girly stuff. How dare them, or anything like that. And then Belle's character, you mentioned, it is a good point that she comes from the small town, just like our heroes, Superman and or even Cap. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn, in terms of small, beginnings. But coming through what is her journey? First, to save her father. She's selfless and she wants to save her father. And then she does by trading her stuff there. But it's, as people were saying in the chat, it's so stupid when you think about it as, Stockholm syndrome, because it's not the case at all. I've said it before, it's the perfect example of the female hero's journey, which is to tame the masculine. Not in a way of taming it, like putting a little leash around it and making it your pet, but taming it in a way that you can kind of coexist. From a young girl's standpoint, the masculine energy, whether that's a father or just men out there or whatever, but the masculine energy is a little frightening to the young girl hero, and it has to be tamed, not in a way of lording over it, but coming to equal grips with it. So that's what she does with the Beast, and it's a beautiful story about their courtship, and then it's already innate in her character anyway to want to redeem and save people like she did with her father. So she's going to do that with the Beast as well. It's Prince. What is his name when he transfers it? Adam? I don't think they say it in the movie, but it's part of Disney lore. I think it's Adam, but maybe I'm just mixing that in with He-Man.
Yeah, I never got the prince name in the animated picture. Now maybe that atrocity of a live action film, which I don't remember squat from that. So don't remind me of that. But what you say is very important in that disastrous, insulting piece of garbage that is insulting to the human race. It is that live action movie. Emma Watson, who I don't know why they thought she could sing, but I won't get on that, missed the total point, as you just described, of who Belle is. It is not about, this is not about who's better. This is about seeing someone. The theme I got is seeing someone for who they really are, and her ability to see the good in the Beast, just like Steve Rogers was able to see the good in Bucky when he was the Winter Soldier.
Exactly.
And not wanting to turn, of course, in the animated film, the mob is out to get him, and Belle interrupts and says, no, he's not hurt anybody. He's not. And she says, he's my friend. And in Civil War, Captain America says to Bucky, he says to Tony, I'm not going to hurt him. He's my friend. So then again, you have both of them protecting, seeing who they really are. And she sees the good in the Beast. She sees that there's a man in there. I know there's good in there. It's in there. And she sees that, whereas the crowd is just ready to go after him. And then what does the Beast has to do? He has to defend, but also he's still a beast. So he has to get violent, because they're attacking him, because he has to try to protect himself. And then how empty he feels when Belle leaves. He's lost everything, because now he's that shows her feminine strength as well, because he's lost that innocence in there. And just as you said, the live action movie either missed all that or tried to crush that, because like you said, Belle has to be the inventor. She has to teach kids to read or be stone cold in emotions. As I don't know if it was Emma Watson's acting or that's just what they thought. And they missed it. That's not what makes you human. That's not what wins you over. It's how she treated him that wins him over, and the fact that she had to read the book. So live action. I don't know how people loved that film. I
know.
said, I don't know what they were drinking.
Yep.
I don't know what they were feeling, but I don't
Exactly.
care how great the special. I just think that film was made just to do the special effects. I honestly think that's the only reason to do it. They just want to make the teacups and candlesticks come to life.
Exactly. Yeah, just it's a money grab, cash grab, you know. Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. And it is oh, it's just disgusting. But that first film was just it's perfection. I mean, there's no reason you don't need live action remakes of animated films. Let's get over this nonsense, this move. And I've never seen one that does it better or in any way does it that merits its existence. So yeah, I 100% agree. It is funny here. I was laughing a little bit because Sound Engraver's needling me here a little. She said, so there's a worship leader at Sound Engraver's church, and I give her a hard time about because he's always kind of cutting eyes at her a little bit and smiling, and I'm like, you stood a little close to so-and-so today, didn't you, or whatever. And she says she's likening him to Gaston. She said the worship leader he would be Gaston, asking me, how can you read this? There are no pictures, no common ground. Says, you're my prince. Thank you. Thank you for the validation, the confirmation.
Good. Well, good for her. But none of the live action animated films Disney so far do not live up to the animated movies that they did in the 90s. None of them work, not a one. And we've got to prepare ourselves for Little Mermaid, which I don't have any hopes for at all. Yeah. I don't. But they're classics. Beauty and the Beast is just the height of Disney's perfection. It was perfection. It hit every single note. There's no reason to make it live action because the live action, I think it was even a Broadway show. The Broadway show didn't work. None of that worked. The animated film said everything it needed to say. And real quickly, I think the classic Disney princesses get a bad rap. And I'm talking Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White. You know, everybody wants to. Snow White is one of my favorites. And I often tell people, Snow White it was not meant to be Xena Warrior Princess.
Exactly. And that's okay.
Yeah, that's good because her strength was her kindness. I always tell people what I liked about the film. You know, people say, well, the prince had to come and give her a kiss and wake her up. And I'm like, and what's the problem with that?
Exactly.
But before that, you know, it was her kindness and her heart that I liked. She had a good heart. How she won the dwarfs over with her kindness, especially Grumpy, who didn't like her. But she won him over. She wins him over with her kindness and her gentleness. She doesn't berate him, but her gentleness and kindness, it would wins him over. I love the scene where she bakes a pie for him. You know, when she is Grumpy. I said, now that's her strength. Cinderella just wanted a night out. Cinderella wasn't looking for people. She didn't even know who the prince was. She just wanted a night out like everybody else. It wasn't really about, even when she met him, she didn't know who he was. You could tell the other girls were worried, but she wasn't paying attention to that. Yeah. And The Little Mermaid is, I do like that story, but you also realize you have a father and story there also with her relationship to King Triton and how in the end he had to let her go. So I think that the early princesses are getting a bad rep from people that I don't know what's going on in their lives, but they should give them a little more respect than they're getting.
You're absolutely right. I mean, Cinderella teaches us to hold on to those dreams in that steadfastness, even in the midst of no light or no end in sight of the turmoil. And Brianna Lee has a great comment that speaks to what we're talking about here. She said, that's what made Belle a great character, her feminine strength. SJWs miss that. They're so sexist. They hate feminine strength. And that's absolutely right, because it's labeled feminine, and we can't have any difference at all between men and women, or masculine and feminine, or whatever. And in terms of Beauty and the Beast, you know, you talked about how when Belle's gone and Beast feels that loss, and suddenly he just doesn't care anymore. Doesn't even care if he lives or dies anymore. But look at the journey he was on. You know, the reason why he was cursed is because he was all about his power, brattiness or whatever. He was a young boy, and then as a beast, he became all about aggression, you know, and so he's the out of control masculine energy, and Belle comes in with her feminine energy and that compassion and seeing it to temper it, and they find that great medium. And so that's why he's lost without her after that, you know, because it's just a beautiful picture of that, and it holds up, you know, classic feminine energy in terms of the hero story. It's wonderful. Hebrew from Eternia for one of the coolest names for a channel there. So for $5, thank you very much. Says Disney just needs to concentrate on making new content and quit remaking everything. Absolutely. And I won't even trust their new content until they just fire everybody that works for them and outsource from Hollywood or something, because I don't trust Hollywood either these days. But you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, I agree with also even with Cinderella also teaches us that it's not a weakness to have help.
Mm-hmm.
She needed help to get to get her dream. She needed that fairy godmother to come in and help her. It's not a sin or a weakness to have help.
Yeah.
The SJWs want to say, I can do it all by myself. I don't need help. You're not weak if you need help. Mm-hmm. There's no weakness in that. What I love about Cap, also, even with Cap, is I like the fact that, yeah, he defends, but he also protects. He's a protector. He looks like when he's standing there with that shield and strong, he's also someone to protect. You know, I'm confident. I know he can protect me if I'm ever in peril, because that's what he does. And there is no weakness in that whatsoever. So
Black Widow, the most, kick butt heroine in the world, has no trouble huddling up under his arm and getting under his shield when the sky's falling on her. That's okay.
Yeah, I know that exactly. She has no problems relying or needing for his help. Mm-hmm. And that's not a weakness. That's a strength. And they're trying to strip that away from men, this protective nature, because I think it's in them to want to protect. And that's a masculine beauty. That's a beautiful thing. That's nothing to be taken away from or to compete with, you know, because like I said, with Beauty and the Beast, it shows the Beast really is the one who needs the rescuing, because it is Belle, the one that rescues him, but it is through her femininity and her a good heart. And even though they get off to a rocky start, eventually they both eventually melt and are come to another, where they're outside having a snowball fight together.
Yeah. I actually have a series in the making for my channel coming up, which actually talks about the classic Disney princesses, and this is going to rankle the feathers of so many modern woke folks out there. But it's talking about what it's lost in modern day heroines, because they're all about their strong, independent, female characters or whatever, and we see that in that Raya nonsense or whatever, and the Mulan remake and so forth. But they completely missed the boat on what it is to be a hero, what it is to have that feminine energy, like those old classics, as you're saying. So yeah, it's a little tease for a series to come. But you're absolutely right. Tom Spiegel said something. They pretend to be kind because they know it's a virtue that can make them look morally superior, but they don't understand what kindness is. Yeah, they're using the same words, but they're not speaking the same language. That's it.
Right. Exactly. That's it. That's a good way of putting that. That's a good way of saying that. And they don't understand femininity, and Marvel is now going to the toilet of understanding what.
There's nothing in Marvel worth watching anymore.
Oh, no, there's nothing coming down the pike from Marvel I'm interested in. Every time lately I've been hearing announced by Marvel, it just turns my stomach. Kevin Feige has completely lost his mind to the woke. Yep. It's like he has just completely lost his mind. I don't know if he's always like that, or I think he's sort of surrendered to the woke power. I think he's given into this and completely forgot what heroes are. These SJWs do not know who or what makes a hero. Nope. The Falcon and Winter Soldier was atrocious. It was an insult. It was an insult to Steve Rogers. It was an insult to Bucky Barnes.
Oh, but it was actually kind of well written. I mean, people make these stupid defenses of that. Grow up. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
I have heard so many people say, well, that action scene was really great, or it kind of makes sense, or we kind of see that. Oh, but that scene with Falcon's outfit looks so cool, and Zemo disco dancing and doing his Saturday Night Fever, that was cool. I loved all of that. Zemo's not really a bad guy. He's just somebody who's losing. I have heard so much trash, and I do not. There is no way they can pull me into that. There is no way they can pull me into that, because it also ruins Falcon too. Yeah. Falcon has been destroyed as well in that show, and he's lost his identity by making him into Cap. The show does not celebrate Steve Rogers; it insults him. So they have completely, and you know what? It will catch up with them. It may not catch up right away, but it will catch up with them eventually. People are going to wake up and see what it's going to catch up with them. Yeah, it will. They have completely lost all concept of hero. They think the hero is the what and not the who. You know. Well, the only way he can be a hero to me is he or she has to look like me, and dress like me or be the same color or same gender. And as you can see by my thumbnail, that is just totally garbage. That's not true.
Exactly. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's so much more to say. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, you're right. I could go all night, but I wouldn't do that to you. But I could go all day. I could go all day about.
What I was going to say is, I mean, yeah, I do want to kind of wrap it up for time wise, but just because I keep these things somewhat digestible, but also my own workload to do in the nights. But I do definitely want to have you back because I've got a few more people, but I want to start cycling back through some of our guests and having more talks like this. And something tells me you might have a little more to say about either these heroes or more. So.
Oh yeah, I could have. I would love to come back. If you will have me back, I would love to come back. I can talk about those the three cat movies because, like I said, again,
especially Linda Carter's Wonder Woman. We need to talk more about her. Definitely, she's wonderful.
Yeah. All that I missed, I would be more than happy to come back and go into the ones that I didn't mention here, such as the Linda Carter Wonder Woman and Indiana Jones and some Lord of the Rings characters. There are. I have a full bag of repertoire in there that I could bring up. So, or even Princess Leia, herself, her journey in Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
So if you have me back, I would love to come back. I enjoyed this. So whenever you welcome me, you just tell me the word. I will definitely return.
Done deal. Cool. Well, yeah. So in terms of what's coming up from the channel, I've got another video dropping at some point tonight. Tomorrow night, you guys can come back for our very first book study of the Darth Bane trilogy. We're going through the Star Wars EU. We had to take a little break on my channel while Al was moving and everything, and I was playing through the Knights of the Old Republic to get people caught up on that storyline, which is referenced in the Darth Bane trilogy. So A Path of Destruction, the first Darth Bane book. And there is that stream is set up already. And I think I've got a link to where you can buy your very own copy of that too there. So come back tomorrow night for that at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Friday night, I'll be back for my usual Friday night stream. We'll have a lot of fun with that. So yeah, good things coming. Over on my Catholic Bible Geek channel, we just started the Lord of the Rings book study last night. It was a lot of fun. We just went through the first 2 chapters of Fellowship of the Ring, so you guys can enjoy that. Do you have any upcoming appearances on Wolf 10's Commander's video or stream or Daniel Herons or anything coming up? Set in stone? I know you'll be around.
Tomorrow, I have to give him media, but I think he's doing a fun stream tomorrow, and then. And you should saw this coming next Tuesday in celebration of the 10th anniversary of Captain America's First Avenger on Wolf 10 Media Stream. We are doing a rewatch and commentary of that film. So I told I will have plenty more to say on that one when we get to that. I didn't get to everything here, but this is the 10th. I can't believe it's been 10 years to the month that the first Avenger movie came out. And like I said, good films you remember, but I am looking forward to that one. So if anyone can catch that live stream or rewatch, but we are going to do a rewatch of the first Avenger.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Wolf 10, you're a moderator in the chat, so you should be able to put a link in. Go ahead and drop the link to your channel there so people can check that. That'd be great. And yeah, do stay tuned for that series I've got coming up on classic heroines. And we're going to look at the Disney princesses. I know Brianna Lee's asking about the animated Wonder Woman film too. I just watched that with Sound Engraver. I've seen it many times, but she just watched it for the first time with me a while ago, and it's just a wonder. It stands up as many times as you see it. I teach it in my class, so that'll be one of them we look at as well in terms of classic heroines that are lost today. So
I look forward to that. That's a great series. I enjoy all the series. What drew me to your channel in the first place is that when all that woke nonsense was starting. I thought I was just lost, and then I found your channel and your videos, and I love how you go into in depth as to what makes the hero work and why we love these stories, because it smashes the argument of the woke crowd that have no complete idea of what makes these stories work. They think it's the who that makes these stories work, but that's not the case. And even the series that you're doing now, I've caught a lot of the videos that you have. They've all been great. So I always look forward to the content that you're putting out because I enjoy it. I really do enjoy it, what you put on your channel and what you talk about.
Well, thank you. Very much appreciated. And it's very much appreciated all the contributions from the chat tonight, super chats, as well as just people talking out and hanging. very much appreciate that. So you guys are always always a big part of what I do and why I do it. So thank you for that. And that's all for tonight. I'm going to go do some work, but thanks to LeaiPlusSize for joining me tonight. And until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love.
Good night, everybody.